In the brutal and unforgiving arena of professional boxing, raw power can terrify. But when that power is combined with surgical precision, forged through years of discipline, and fueled by a deep-seated code of personal honor, it evolves into something far more formidable. That's when power becomes mythic. That's when a fighter becomes a monster. Naoya Inoue, a name now etched in global boxing lore, didn't simply emerge as a force. He was a quiet storm building with every step, every punch, every measured breath. He didn't shout for recognition. He didn't crave the camera. Instead, he let his gloves speak, his silence pierce, and his discipline radiate. Inoue wasn't just fighting opponents. He was enacting a philosophy, born of Japanese martial values and nurtured by personal responsibility. And when that philosophy was disrespected, when family was harmed or his code breached, the vengeance he brought inside the ring wasn't theatrical. It was surgical. It wasn't sport. It was a sentence. Back in 2019, during the World Boxing Super Series semifinals, Naoya Inoue faced off against Puerto Rican champion Emmanuel Rodriguez. Rodriguez was undefeated, confident, and carried the swagger of a man who saw himself as a rightful heir to greatness. On the surface, it was a clash between two top-tier fighters, but beneath that, a darker undercurrent rippled. In the days leading up to the bout, tensions flared between their respective camps. What could have been dismissed as routine mind games turned ugly when Inoue's father and trainer, Shingo Inoue, was assaulted by someone from Rodriguez's team. To most, it was just a pre-fight scuffle. But for Naoya, it wasn't just an insult. It was a violation. A line had been crossed not in promotion or strategy, but in his personal code. Inoue didn't respond with public outrage. There were no angry statements or confrontations. What followed was far more chilling, a silence that simmered into purpose. When the fight began, there was no immediate eruption. The first round was cautious, tactical, with both men testing and measuring. Rodriguez moved with confidence, convinced of his ability to match whatever Inoue had. But Inoue wasn't there to box conventionally. He was there with intention. Every movement, every feint was a calculation. In the second round, the mask slipped. A brutal left hook exploded on Rodriguez's jaw, sending him to the mat for the first time in his career. He got up, shocked, but it wasn't over. Seconds. Later, Inoue launched a vicious body shot that crumpled him. Still, Rodriguez rose. Then came the final blow, a thunderous hook to the temple that ended the fight. 3 knockdowns in a single round. No celebration, no showboating. Inoue simply turned away, his expression unchanged. Later, he would admit what everyone already sensed: that wasn't a title fight. It was retribution. The ring had become a place for justice. That moment defined the difference between Inoue and so many others in the sport. For him, boxing isn't theater. It's sacred ground. And when the sanctity is broken, especially when it involves his family, the gloves don't just defend a record. They defend legacy, respect, and identity. That approach didn't end with Rodriguez. It was the beginning of an era marked not just by dominance but by principle. Inoue wasn't chasing belts alone. He was making statements with every jab, every knockout, every silence after a win. By 2023, Inoue had done what seemed almost impossible in the modern era. He unified the entire bantamweight division. Every belt, every claim brought under his control. And still it wasn't enough. He looked upward, beyond the bantamweight realm, toward a new challenge in the super bantamweight division. There, another mountain waited. Stephen "Coolboy" Steph Fulton, an undefeated champion from Philadelphia. Fulton was everything the American boxing system revered: rangy, slick, highly skilled, with a defensive prowess sharpened by years of top-level competition. To many analysts, especially those in the U.S., this was the limit of Inoue's reach. They argued that his power wouldn't carry up, that his smaller frame would finally meet its match. Fulton embraced that narrative, talking openly about his belief in his technical superiority. "Power doesn't win fights," he declared. confident that his ring IQ and footwork would neutralize the Japanese phenom. The tension between them grew. Though not openly hostile, the press conferences hinted at a deeper clash of ideologies. Fulton, outwardly calm, played mind games through dismissive comments. He framed Inoue as a smaller fighter stepping out of his depth. But what many misunderstood, was that Inoue's power wasn't about brute strength, it was about timing, positioning, and execution. It wasn't a sledgehammer, it was a scalpel in the hands of a master surgeon, and, unlike many fighters, Inoue didn't engage in the verbal war. He didn't try to win headlines, he just prepared. On July 25, 2023, the Ariake Arena in Tokyo was electric. The fans knew what was coming, even if the international pundits didn't. When the opening bell rang, Fulton came forward assertively. But from the very first exchanges, the difference in sharpness was clear. Inoue's movement wasn't flashy, but it was flawless. He glided, pivoted, and planted counters with ghost-like rhythm. Fulton's usual confidence eroded round by round. His jabs were met with counters that landed and hurt. His rhythm dissolved into reactive footwork. What had been touted as a 50-50 clash quickly turned one-sided. In the 8th round, reality shattered. Inoue landed a devastating right cross that dropped Fulton. For the first time in his career, the American hit the canvas. He rose, but the momentum was gone. Inoue, ever the executioner, seized the moment. He cornered Fulton and unleashed a flurry so precise, so violent, that the referee stepped in. Fulton had been outclassed, outthought, and outfought. Afterward, he acknowledged the magnitude of what he had faced, admitting that before Inoue even landed a punch, he could feel something intangible. The aura, the inevitability. Inoue hadn't just won. He had dismantled a narrative, disproven doubts, and made the extraordinary look routine. But not every opponent was a brash provocateur. Some were professionals who respected the game, who carried themselves with dignity. Paul Butler, the British champion Inoue faced in December 2022 for the undisputed bantamweight crown, was one such fighter. Butler came into the ring with momentum, having strung together an impressive win streak. He was composed, experienced, and carried the pride of British boxing with him. He wasn't there to trash talk. He was there to compete. But even that spirit, however noble, could not change what unfolded in the ring. From the outset, Butler was on the defensive. He circled, guarded, tried to limit exchanges. His plan was to frustrate Inoue, to stretch the fight, to avoid the explosive danger. But Inoue had seen it all before. He adapted, cutting off the ring with efficiency, applying steady pressure without overextending. The Japanese star began landing clean shots, testing Butler's defense, exploiting openings with quiet persistence. As rounds passed, Inoue didn't grow impatient. Instead, he evolved. He danced with flair, taunted with subtlety, mimicking the movements of legends past. The fight became a showcase, a display of layered, multi-dimensional boxing. By the 11th round, it was clear Butler's resistance was reaching its end. Inoue sensed it. He delivered a right hand that staggered the Brit, followed by a combination that left no doubt. The referee stopped the bout. Inoue had not just claimed the final piece of the bantamweight puzzle, he had done so with artistry. Butler later admitted that even before the punches landed, he could feel the suffocating presence, the inevitability of defeat. That was the monster effect. What defines Inoue isn't merely his power or his technique. It's the discipline with which he carries those tools. He doesn't indulge in antics, he doesn't promote with chaos. His presence in press conferences is quiet, often reserved. He doesn't need to insult or antagonize. His reputation precedes him. He fights like a modern-day samurai, with values rooted in respect, stoicism, and absolute commitment. But make no mistake, when those values are challenged, when he is pushed beyond the boundaries of honor, the retribution is not only swift, but devastating. His silence is a weapon. It unnerves. It builds tension. And when he steps into the ring, all the talk, all the speculation collapses under the weight of reality. Inoue isn't trying to sell fights with spectacle. He's building a legacy through precision and punishment. When his father was disrespected, he responded with a violent masterclass against Rodriguez. When Fulton underestimated him, he responded with a surgical dismantling. When Butler tried to outlast him, he responded with pressure that was both intelligent and unrelenting. That's what separates Naoya Inoue from most of his contemporaries. He's not just a champion, he's a craftsman of violence. Promoters talk about him with awe. Trainers study his film with reverence. Former champions don't critique him, they admire him. He is a rare breed, calm on the surface, ferocious underneath. Every fight adds to a myth that is becoming harder to contain within the limits of weight classes. Every opponent he faces leaves not only defeated but transformed. By 2024, Inoue's eyes had shifted again, this time to featherweight. A new division, new champions, new threats. But the story remains the same. He isn't chasing new titles for accolades alone. He's chasing them because he believes in dominion. Inoue doesn't enter divisions to participate. He enters to conquer, to impose his will, to expose gaps in even the most polished fighters. His goal isn't to simply win fights, it's to leave no doubt that he is the best across every level he touches. Those who have stood across from him, Rodriguez, Butler, Fulton, came in with belief, strategy, and courage. They exited humbled, their blueprints dismantled, their strengths neutralized. Inoue doesn't just beat opponents, he dissects them. He doesn't only win titles, he elevates them. In the process, he elevates boxing itself. His journey from the quiet streets of Zama, Japan, to the biggest stages of world boxing is not just a rise, it's a testament. A testament to the power of discipline, the strength of silence, and the enduring force of honor. These are not slogans for him, they are principles. And when those principles are crossed, the gloves come on, not just to fight, but to deliver judgment. Naoya Inoue doesn't scream his greatness. He carves it into the history of the sport, one humbled champion at a time. And with every broken record, every silenced critic, and every fallen opponent, his story grows. This is no ordinary boxer. This is a force, a legacy in motion, a monster.